kind of a Henley top from Cabela's. We were out there today, which is why I was following chat on Midnight's Edge, but I really wasn't participating when we were walking around. No, we didn't see any new guns to get. Oh well, they had several new Browning Grands for $4,000. A Browning Grand is a shotgun, a very beautiful premium shotgun. And I was like this, ugh. Hubby was like, no. Anyway, you guys know the rules. I don't have to repeat them. And I'm not going to. We might actually talk about how bad Tila looks in the new Master of the Universe trailer. And the reason why is because it kind of leads into Star Wars. Good afternoon, Mr. Cinedave. It leads into basically the conversation I want to have anyway. So May has alerted me to the fact that somebody on Twitter, and I'm not going to say who it is, you all know who it is. Hey, Bill, basically said that, and he used the thumbnail, that The Mandalorian leads to the sequel trilogy. That thumbnail, I would say, was probably before we even knew what Mandalorian was going to be. Okay? That thumbnail. So, is he right? No, of course not. He doesn't know. I mean, here's the deal. If you are married to this idea, you're not a Star Wars fan because you don't want him to fix it. If you are so, hey Trela, like that, with all Disney Star Wars sucks, it'll never be any good, even if it is good. Etc. But Troy, you gotta understand, it's the kind of person I'm talking about is someone who doesn't want to be happy. Okay, first off, very married to Disney Star Wars sucks, no matter if it doesn't suck. Bad Batch, Clone Wars, the last season of the Clone Wars. I could have lived without the Martez sisters, but it ended up going better. And of course, Mandalorian. How can you say this with an honest look on your face if you've got Luke showing up at the end of Mandalorian and basically, no, not Raylos. I'm not talking about Raylos. I think they're in the rearview mirror. Every once in a while you'll see one raise her ugly fat head, but to be honest, I have not really noticed them as much. There's nothing new coming out. Obviously, the Disney's not gonna do anything with those two characters anymore. They're in their own little multiverse now. They want it, they got it. The show's going on without them. I'm talking about EU fundamentalists and black pills. You cannot, hey Revan, I thought it was interesting, but I need more information. And I'm gonna say this because it's Japanese. We're talking about Visions. Because it's Japanese anime, we will probably not have any wokeness. Okay? I don't look. I'm gonna be very frank. I lived in Korea. The thing that Asian cultures in general share is a very patriarchal, masculine culture. All right, very male and traditional family oriented. To really see that up close and personal, you have to go to a traditional Korean wedding where the bride's parents are front and center. I mean, the wedding is more about them than it is anybody else, okay, including the bride and groom. And it's very interesting to me because Japan is like that, and China to some extent, well, to China is, and I don't think we're going to get any wokeness from these artists. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think you're going to see any homosexuality. I don't think you're going to see women behaving like crude men and drawn badly like Tila in Masters of the Universe. I saw that picture. I'm like, does every dyke in Hollywood have her hair cut like that? Are you fucking kidding me? Is that what they think? You know, first off, I'm straighter than straight. I mean, and I have no problem saying that that's a lovely lady. But when I see a woman looking like a fucking man on purpose, it pisses me off. It triggers me. I get triggered. And the reason is this. I get triggered because something inside me knows it's not right. Okay? There's something wrong in that, and it's shaving half her head. And you know, just like that one Martez sister, you got one looking like that, and the other one looks like she's got a fucking cow patty on her head. It's like, what the fuck? Stop doing that to us. Just stop it. We don't need it, okay? We're perfectly happy without looking like that. You know? I mean, but, you know, Valiant Renegade and Mandy Summers just did a video about erasing femininity, and we'll get into that. But going back to the sequel trilogy, and does Mando lead into it? When you've got several sources now, we got Forbes coming out saying Disney's letting go of Gina Carano was a stupid thing to do, and it just shows Lucasfilm mismanagement. Then you've got the Variety thing coming out saying Bob Chapek is confusing people and smashing egos, and you know, and there's a lot of people that are very despairing. You've got Taika Waititi basically saying, in not so many words, my movie is not, right now, we're not currently developing it. It's on the shelf, his Star Wars movie, because Lucasfilm is restructuring. Dave Filoni is announced that he is head of creative. He is the top dog of all that, thanks God. And then we get, you know, this last article in the Atlantic. That's just the stuff that is out there that is anybody can read. All right. Then we go back and we look at what Doomcock has been saying, what Midnight's Edge has been saying, what, you know, Walt Disney World Pro has been saying. Some of it I don't agree with, some of it I do. I have to say that it makes sense if you look at what has been said in the press, and I mean the mainstream press, Forbes, Variety, Atlantic, everything, those rumors make sense. Then you go look and see what Pablo said to James Bond. After 20 years, I don't have any plans, and I don't know what hers are. Referring to Kathleen Kennedy. So you can watch Mando, watch the season finale. Luke shows up and say, and our ladies asked, hey, you don't want it to be good. You don't want it to be good. You need it to be bad. Okay? Now, black pills are come in various forms. They are people who just want to bitch about everything. We know they're fanboys who mock and ridicule everything and everyone. They're EU fundamentalists. I mean, I saw, all right, yesterday, was it yesterday? No, it was the day before, the 3rd. And I was screwing around looking on Twitter and just, you know, getting up to date with the trash, Kennedy's trash monkeys. And there was Pablo's having a discussion with the person who posted that thumbnail I used about the EU and everything. They were getting along swimmingly. Do psychopaths from opposite ends actually attract each other? I don't know, but it's something to bear in mind. Okay. Anyway, my thing is this: if you can look at everything that's happened and not believe there's something going on, especially after Waititi said that, you got to be kidding me. Now, Patty Jenkins made an ass of herself talking about how things have to change in Rogue Squadron and, the feminist bullshit, a fat, she has the body of a ginormous pear and an ass the size of my poor kitchen island. I don't think that movie's going to see the light of day. I really, really don't. They're looking for, she and Headland, it looks to me like they're looking for attention. Because if Waititi, of all the people to be the honest broker here, that freakazoid, there's something going on. Okay. They're under restructuring. You've got Pablo wandering around and, allowing his I know, Senator Dave. Wonder Woman 84 was just terrible, but, he's wandering around doing some sort of bizarre book retrospective of his entire collection. I don't know. I'm like, okay, fine. But, that's what you've got going. So when you see someone say that, just say, I don't agree with you. There's too much out there now in the press for us to follow that line of thinking anymore. I don't know. And just leave it at that. That's what I would do. Hey, Maze. Mazerus is in the house. So, and Mazerus was the one that sent me that. Because you can't not see it. You can't not see it. You can't. It's there now. Okay. Favreau had planted the seeds, and honestly, they were talking about this in the Midnight's Edge chat, and I thought actually I thought there's something going on with Star Wars. There's some news that had been announced, but nothing. That Filoni, with the Veil of the Force, put that in there deliberately. So he could fucking change it. Okay, now people are saying, well, they can go back and change the OT. No, they can't. Oh, I know, Richard Donner. Hey guys, I do want to tell you this. The director of Superman and Superman 2, The Goonies, and Lethal Weapon, Richard Donner, passed away at the age of 91 today. So, God bless his soul. Superman 2 is such a great movie. And Lethal Weapon, there are names from our childhood. Afternoon, Dave, that are not going to be with us much longer. It's just really sad. But he's 91. He had a great life. He had a lot of experiences. He got to work with some of the biggest stars and the best actors in the business. Hey, Deborah, how are you doing? So God bless his soul. He's hanging out with Orson Welles and John Ford in Valhalla. So anyway, so all right, now I want to talk a little bit about something that I don't know why I was inspired. I think maybe who was I? I was inspired by one of somebody else's video, and I don't even think they were really talking about this, but it's something that occurred to me. It always does. That Star Wars is about family, traditional family, and the needing for that in a person's life. When we look at Anakin Skywalker and the lack of a real father figure, and Palpatine sadly fills that void. Okay, the procuring and enticing of Skywalker to go to the dark side was a very long process. Okay, very long. So when you start thinking about that, the Palpatine filled that void that Qui-Gon Jinn's death left. Okay, you've got in the OT, you've got a young man who's being raised by his step uncle and aunt. Hey, Chris. I did. I was, we had, let's see, I pan-seared Wagyu beef, grilled two beautiful aged ribeyes, and a rack of lamb. And it was good. And we had au gratin potatoes, and this corn, this dish I call Mexican street corn. And basically I just let it, I cut fresh corn off the cob, poblano chili, green and red bell pepper, onion and garlic, and just let it, hey Ben, and just let it get to the point where it smells like it's gonna burn. You want some crunchy, you want some caramelization. And my mom-in-law just loves it. I mean, she's completely crazy about it, so I'm like, and we had a lot of wine. Anyway, so yeah, it was good. But anyway, so you've got Luke being raised by his step aunt and uncle. Okay, they're not blood relatives, all right? Then you've got Leia, who's his twin sister, being raised by adoptive parents. We don't know who his parents are. We really don't know. Hey, Six, we don't know. We know he's Corellian. What is his connection to Corellia? And that's all we're excuse me. That's all we know about him. And the lack of that family is very prominent throughout the show in some ways. But they discover each other. Luke discovers he has a blood sister. He also discovers that Han is basically his brother. They're best friends. He's basically his brother. Han, who's always been alone except for Chewie, who grew up not trusting anybody, felt safe enough to trust Luke and definitely trust Leia. Okay. Leia, who's lost everything, discovers her brother, her family. They realize who their father was. And the whole thing then predicates on how each accepts Anakin Skywalker as their dad, as their progenitor, as their, the founder of the feast, okay, as it were. And I think the thing that bothers me a lot about the sequel trilogy is a lack of that family thing. It's the if you've gone through the things that Han and Luke and Leia had gone through for each other, it would be very hard to break those bonds, those tribal, almost blood bonds. In fact, there are bonds built through sacrifice and that they're stronger than blood. Okay, and that I think is where George was going. Okay, with that, and I think at the end of Return of the Jedi, we saw that Luke, even though he was not happy with who his father was, looked at him with the eyes of forgiveness, understanding, and compassion and empathy, which is a place you didn't, that he got to through all the struggles he went through. Okay. Um, and he didn't have a relationship with him. But the fact that Anakin was his father and he accepted that was enough for him. Was enough because he said that I accept that you're Anakin Skywalker. You were once Anakin Skywalker, my father. Remember? Okay. Leia has a long time coming. And I am going to say this, and I know if Pablo Hidalgo was watching this, yeah, he did. He did, Mazars. That Han, without Han, Leia never would have accepted Anakin. Just never. Okay. If something bad had happened and Han had died, I don't really see her ever, as a result of what Vader had done, I don't see her ever forgiving him. All right. That just, she was more like Anakin before his fall. And it's very interesting to me watching how it slowly dawns on her that the man that was her father wasn't Darth Vader. Okay. Han says to her in Tatooine Ghost, kids aren't born evil. Your father wasn't born evil, is basically what he's telling her. And now I believe in the bad seed. Okay, I do. I've known some kids that were raised very well that turned out really, really shitty. Okay, just they're shitty people. They're not right. Anakin always seemed like he was of the right frame of mind. He wanted to do the right thing. He didn't know how to get there, right? He was impatient and impulsive, and that's how he would get to that place where he could fix things and do the things he needed to do. That's not how a Jedi does it. Does it's his thing. There is a channel called Getlys, Geetlys. The guy did a great video on what balance of the Force really is, and if I sent it to Mazarus, if he's still here and he can put a link in the chat, it's great. Because I realized that the Mortis arc is basically the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker. They're basically playing out the dark and the light, and the Father is the Force itself. It's a very, he explains it in a very interesting way that I didn't really, it didn't occur to me until I watched it. Now I can see it. And the thing, I mean, Deborah has a point. Hey, H Boomer. Deborah has a point. Anakin, again, didn't have the underpinnings of a masculine. Oh, I can't remember. It was about the Mortis arc, I think. And what it it was either that. Oh, I can't remember what it was called. Getlys, Geetlys, I think. If you can't find it, don't worry about it. Geetlys. There's two E's. Anyway, you realize that family ultimately is really what every one of the characters that we grew to love wanted. I mean, Luke, he wants to know who his father was. Who is Anakin Skywalker? Han, he doesn't seem like he wants to belong. I think it is. I think it's that one. If it's not, it's still a good video. If it's not, where's it going? Han has never had that in his life. But I imagine somewhere in his past, he thought he wanted that. And, again, the things you wanted as a child don't stop. They don't. I mean, I wanted to be a rock star in maybe in another, in an alternate universe or a multiverse. I am. Wanted to be a great actress. Maybe I am. Wanted to make movies. Maybe I am. You don't know. We've got that story of him being found on the streets of Coronet City by Garrus Shrike, and I don't like it. I almost think you could get into really stupid fan fiction and say he was, because I've read it, he was estranged from his family. And you could maybe make that work, but it seems to me, and I know that there's something about his father being killed in Soilo, that could be a starting off point. All right. And he's left with nobody and nothing. I mean, when you think about it, and the Empire and the state of sentient beings in the galaxy, a kid without parents, for whatever reason, is going to get chewed up and spit out. Okay. And I imagine him having memories of his parents or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it was. But, you see a little baby just sitting there in a basket. What the. So I kind of look at that and go, yeah, orphaned and basically kind of raised in a world where you couldn't trust anybody, where you had no friends. In his case, he got lucky with Dulana, who saved him. I do like that part of the story because it gives you an idea of why he went out of his way to help Chewie and ruin his career. I mean, destroy everything he was. It destroy everything he was trying to build up to. And when you read, I like the way, evening, Kev, when you look at the kid that he was, piloting swoop bikes for betting, and basically scamming on the streets for Shrike. And it's basically, when you read it, it's almost like you're reading Oliver Twist in some ways. Shrike is the criminal overlord, and please sir, I want some more. Okay. And the only person Han talks to is Dulana. Okay. He doesn't have, at least that, he doesn't have, I don't know. I mean, Deborah, I think that I read an interesting fanfic. I thought she did a pretty good job, where Han, one of the reasons why he always told Leia he never wanted to be caught without a blaster is because what happened to his father. He saw his father murdered in front of him. Okay, he knew the guy was going to go. He saw everything happen. He couldn't stop it. I always thought that was an interesting and kind of traumatic thing. Um, but when you look at how Han talks about his future, he was going to be a fighter pilot, he was going to have a family, he was going to be respectable, la la la. That to me is very interesting. He's a little boy, and he's thinking of the things he wants in life, and they're not the next scam. They're not that far in front of his nose. They're out there, and he has enough belief in himself to go out there and get them. He gets it all in the end too. He has to go in a roundabout way, and he has to meet people that he feels safe with, a family that those those dreams are then possible. Luke always wanted to leave Tatooine. He always wanted to get out of there. And when you watch it, watch out how he changes and his impulsiveness, the fact that he is so much like Anakin. And he doesn't have anybody older than him, not necessarily a father, which you could look at Owen, Uncle Owen, as being like a father figure. I'm talking about a big brother. I'm talking about, I mean, Biggs, but I'm talking about someone kind of like older than him who, is there kind of like as this role model to follow, all right, to give him advice. Young men really need that kind of thing, that person to hang out with and go fishing with and just bounce ideas off. And women, fine, but we don't do that job. That's not, we're not equipped for that, and we shouldn't think of ourselves as being equipped for that. I mean, you look at the guy that I highlighted in the attack, misquoting George Lucas and quoting him out of context. And that guy, if you look at his picture, he obviously has never had any masculine presence in his life. Not a big brother, not a dad who cared about him, nobody. I mean, that is what someone whose whole existence was female leadership. And this is what you get. This is what kind of men you build. You don't build men. And Luke has that to a point. But when he runs into Han and they go through all their adventures in A New Hope and between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, you see a brotherhood forming. You see best friends. You see this. Han gives him ideas. Han lets him know how to do things, how to handle himself in situations. Luke, just because he has the Force doesn't mean he's a natural survivor. Doesn't mean that he's equipped to walk into a scruffy, backwater bar and be able to walk out unscathed if a fight starts. I mean, we saw that. Okay, Ben Kenobi saved him from getting hurt. But we didn't really get to see any of the things that prompted that friendship and prompted Luke to be able to go into places like, a cantina that is basically inhabited by, criminals and bounty hunters and, and be able to, survive. Okay. That's where Han comes in. Always being there, pulling him out of the fire and all the rest of the stuff. He becomes Luke's protector in lots of ways. And that is kind of the hero's journey, but they form a brotherhood. And then we get Leia. And Leia, she had a family, but it wasn't the family she was born into, okay? And that family is now all gone. Everything's gone. So we get a girl who is probably a little self-protective, who is by herself, except for Winter, even though Disney dings to never mention Winter, her adopted sister. And of all of them, she's drawn to Luke because they're blood relatives. They don't know it, but they are. And then you have the wrench in the whole thing, Han. And I've said this before, he changes her. She changes him. Yeah, exactly, Mazers. And a lot of fairly good fanfics and a lot of the EU novels kind of delve into it, into that self-protective. Yeah, she has such a different journey. Her journey is personal. It's not Luke's is personal, but it's also not. And Leia's already a hero when we meet her. She doesn't have that journey to go on. Her journey is way different. And it's very interesting. But in the end, these three people who any other time would never meet, but because there's a war going on and they're all involved in it, they meet. They are friends. They become close. They form a family. And that's the thing that Disney and the story group really can't figure out. They really, really can't. Six wanted me to talk about something, and I can't remember what it was. I was watching Midnight's Edge chat, and we were walking around Cabela's. This is where I got this shirt, and I love it. And I didn't get to listen in, and I had no idea what was going on. I thought Cameron made a statement somewhere about something happening, and I was like, you know, but no, they were bringing him up, and it was very interesting when I finally got to hear a little bit of it. I think they were talking about what I think this was somebody brought this up. Why would Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford allow their legacies to be destroyed like this? I'm paraphrasing. And all right, first off, when they signed on to do the sequels, they had no idea George was getting ready to sell to Disney. And I'm going to say this. I was going to say this. If they had known, and I think Mark said this, that Disney was going to buy Lucasfilm, he said at least two of us wouldn't have come back. And I guarantee it was Mark and Harrison. No, we don't want to do this. It wasn't. I mean, when you're an actor and you sign on the dotted line, you do what they tell you. I mean, even Harrison Ford has to. He gets a little more leeway than Mark Hamill does and Carrie because of who he is. But still, at the end of the day, he's got to do what J.J. Abrams and that fucktard Larry Kasdan want him to. Okay? And somebody else, this always annoys me, and Maze knows this. Maze knows this. There's a rumor out there that Harrison hates Han. He doesn't hate Han. There's something about, I think, that time period that at one time or another made him feel uncomfortable and bothered him. I don't know what it is, but I think it's probably personal, and it's not the character, because I've said this before. Without Han, he never would have gotten Indiana Jones. Steven went to see The Empire Strikes Back. They had to recast Indy because they couldn't get Tom Selleck. And, Steven said, what about Harrison Ford? What about Han Solo? And, George at first was against it because, Harrison was driving him nuts. And it worked. They met, they talked, and he got I think you're right Yeah, I think, and I honestly think Troy and Mr. Oyston have a good point. First off, you can't hate a character that without you wouldn't have your career. I mean, and if the fans see you as Han Solo, that's tough shit. That's what they see. Um, you know, and they did a lot of bait and switch. I think after they found out they were stuck with Disney and whatever they wanted to do, Lando, he is part of it and he's not. He's like, if you got these three central characters and they've got friends, Leia's best friend is Winter, Luke's friend is Biggs, Biggs dies, Luke has other friends, Mara Jade shows up in some way or another, and you've got Lando, who Han has been friends with for a long, long time, and frenemies with. But when you always have the that that dynamic going on. But the core group are the three. Not, I mean, and everybody else is sort of peripheral. That's why when I say in order to fix Star Wars, you have to fix these three. You know, I don't think that had anything to do with that event. I don't. I'm not gonna say what I think it is, but there was a lot going on in the making of A New Hope, and I've always thought that him getting that movie might have been the last chance he had at actually making it big. And he knew it, he took it, and I don't know if his home life was strong enough at that point for him to be gone. Was it 3, 4, 5 months they were filming? I think they actually went over. It's just very interesting how many stories then have come out. Carrie's book. I think a lot of the stuff that she talks about affects this to this day. All right, I really, really do. I mean, she, think of it. Think of the guys, all the guys she knew. She wasn't the tall, glorious blonde like Farrah Fawcett and Cheryl Tiegs and all that, but she was a kick-ass chick, and she had anything she wanted, and she was Hollywood royalty. And she had that quirky, funny personality, brilliant woman, and the guys just fall for that. They just fall for it. And every time I think about what could possibly make a guy not care for a character that made his that was actually Thomas, that was actually he was building helping build shelves for Francis Ford Coppola's office, and he was there doing that, and George said, can you read for the part? He's like, yeah, sure. And he made American Graffiti with him, so there was a thing there, and it just went on from there. And I think when you've got, was it Christopher Walken, Tim Matheson? I mean, they even tried Sylvester Stallone for the role of Han Solo. Not to mention, they actually offered that role to Al Pacino. You go over there and kind of play how messed up that would be. Okay, didn't work. It doesn't work. He wasn't gonna do it anyway. And yeah, it was yeah after yeah, and that movie, Apocalypse Now. I mean, when I think of all the huge names in that movie, and then the fact it was written by one of my favorite people on the planet, John John Milius, it's just awesome. It is so, what a great thing. A very long movie, very hard movie to watch, but what a great thing. The conversation, yeah, that was a, but those weren't getting him known. And Star Wars and that character got him known. And but when I hear people say that stuff, I go, why do you say that? They say this, and the other thing, and I'm like, he's playing it up for the crowd, you know. But I am gonna tell you something. When he walked up to Alden Ehrenreich and said, "Get out of my chair and get out of my life," he wasn't talking about, "I don't care about this role anymore." He was like, "You suck." I mean, he wasn't joking. Okay, he wasn't. And of course, you got Kathy in the background, stoned out of her mind. It, you know, but it's very interesting to me. But I really think if they had known that George was planning on selling, because Marion County wouldn't let him expand the studio, that Mark and Harrison would have said, no, we're not going to do it. We're not. And I'm going to say this. The sale of Lucasfilm to Disney wouldn't have happened if they hadn't been signed on. Okay? Wouldn't have happened. I know it. In my gut, I know it. That was part of the deal because, if you're spending 4.5 billion and you're getting ready to invest another 3 or 4 billion, it's going to be very interesting if you can't get the thing that gets people to come to the movie and watch, and that is those 3 actors. Here's the deal, no one was going to go to any Star Wars movie if all you were going to see is Leia. Okay, then Carrie would have done it. The guys wouldn't have. They wanted to see all 3 of them together. We were promised that. I do too, but it's very interesting to me when I think about that. And Mark said it. He said it. If he'd have known they were going to sell, that Lucasfilm was being sold, and their contracts are being sold to the mouse, yeah, that's exactly what they did. And now they're being, relegated to, a multiverse, probably never to be revisited in our lifetime. Okay? I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, it's very interesting to me when I think of that. And I think, why these guys would let this happen. And, they pull the bait and switch. Oh, this was, here's the script George wanted to do, the overview. Okay, great, I like it. Okay, we'll go for it. Along comes Iger and that fright, Kathy and JJ and, Larry Kasdan. No, this is the script. Luke. Where's Luke? Oh, he comes in at the very end. Why? Well, Michael Arndt, who wrote the first script and you guys really liked it, he couldn't really figure out how to fit the new characters in, and we really want to highlight them. Are you shitting me? What's the point of Mark even being there? So what? And, all the promises that they made, they didn't keep. They never, it was all bait and switch. Why? Because Kennedy was insisting and making sure a dear little, JJ and that curmudgeon Kasdan pulled this is what we're going to do. We're going to highlight the bestest of all, Kyle Ron, and the rest of the new characters to the detriment, now we see, of the trilogy and the franchise. Right. That was bait and switch. I mean, but there's no way those guys could walk off on that. There's absolutely no way. It is what it is. What else is going on? Nothing really. I mean, I suppose we could talk. I mean, all right. I've never been a fan of the Masters of the Universe. My nephews used to watch it. I was in high school. I thought it was stupid. But Valiant Renegade, if he's here, basically had Mandy Summers on talking about you're right, Matt Pirano. We talking about erasing femininity in Hollywood, and this didn't start with us. And really, let this be me calling Kevin Smith out. This isn't new. What you're doing, dude. I mean, it's this rehashing and this makeover, this masculinity you're forcing on characters that weren't, isn't new. Okay, it's not new. Everybody, they've all done it, all of them. Okay, but it's insulting. It's insulting to women, despite what people like Kevin Smith think. With his obsession with his daughter, which borders on really kind of creepy. Women and men are vastly different. Vastly. All right. And when you look at the new image from that trailer, She-Ra, she looks like a bartender at a lesbian bar. She does. I mean, half of her head is shaved. She's got that flip over haircut. It's like, wait, every fucking cartoon, that's what you see. You don't see that in nature. I mean, I've never come across anybody that looked like that, ever. I mean, but I live in rural PA, so, oh, you're welcome. But they all look like that. This is insulting. She doesn't look like a woman. She looks like something, like a Frankenstein monster in some ways. She's got the big shoulders, big arms, narrow, very narrow. And it's like, women don't look like that, We don't, but they're erasing what women are. And they did it in Star Wars. Instead of Leia being a princess, she was a general. There's absolutely no femininity and Carrie at all in the ST. None. Okay, she's not. When you look at the concept art that they released, and you see her in a dress, and you see her with her hair braided, she looks like the princess. She looks like who she's supposed to be. All right, but in the movie we get this crappy uniform, and then we have these mourning togs. She didn't give a shit about Han. Why the fuck is she dressed like that? I mean, think about it. All right, it was just an insult to the whole thing. Watching that happen, okay, because at the end of Return of the Jedi, her hair is down. She's got her hair pulled up in that braid, and she's wearing that dress, and she looks great. I mean, she's, the grown-up woman in that. And then we get back and we get, what the hell. But that's not the only place. And look at Ray. She never, ever has a change of clothes. She's wearing that stupid costume the entire time. She is not a very feminine looking girl to begin with. She looks like a 2x4. And it's like, there's more to her that's wrong than just that. But it's starts with that. Okay? It starts with that. There is absolutely no journey for this character. She is the same unisex person at the end of The Rise of Skywalker that she was in the beginning of The Force Awakens. And there you go. And of course, we get Kelly Marie Tran dressed up like, wearing that brown potato sack, that stupid haircut. Just not. What? And even the uniform that she's wearing in Tross was like, when you watched The Empire Strikes Back and you see the other women, like the communications chicks, they're all look like girls, even in uniform. When you see the women in The Rise of Skywalker, the quote from Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada, aren't there any elegant, slender paratroopers? Am I reaching for the stars here? Women don't look like that. We don't want to look like that. I mean, maybe some do, but none that I know don't. What else? But that's basically all I've got to say for the day. I mean, I'm just sitting here waiting, as we all are, for more information to come out. I also have this to say, Cameron, again, got booted off of Twitter, so he's not coming back, which is too bad, and he explained what happened, and it was bad. It was ugly. It was really, really, really ugly. So, I wouldn't come back if I were him either. I mean, it was kind of scary, to be honest. So, anyway, all right, I gotta go, and because we're gonna eat dinner, and I'm gonna take the dog out and sit with him for a while outside. So I'll see you guys later. See you around the galaxy.